As they made camp in the heart of the underground city, Elena felt a sense of peace wash over her, a fleeting moment of respite amidst the chaos that threatened to consume them all. But even as she basked in the warmth of her companion's camaraderie, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked just beyond the reach of her senses. For Marcus Kane's agents were still out there, hunting her with a relentless determination that bordered on obsession. And as the echoes of their pursuit reverberated through the tunnels, Elena knew that the calm would not last for long. For the storm that loomed on the horizon threatened to engulf them all in its fury, and she would need every ounce of strength and determination to weather the coming storm. Yet even in the relative safety of the underground, Elena knew that their sanctuary was fleeting. For Marcus Kane's agents were relentless in their pursuit, their determination matched only by their ruthlessness. As the days turned into weeks, Elena and her allies found themselves locked in a deadly game of cat-and-mouse with their would-be captors. With each passing moment, the net drew tighter around them, and the shadows of the city seemed to close in from all sides. But Elena was not one to be cowed by fear or intimidation. With every setback, she redoubled her efforts, marshalling her allies and rallying them to her cause. For she knew that the fate of the city, and perhaps the very fabric of reality itself, hung in the balance. As the tension in the air grew ever more palpable, Elena found herself pushed to the brink of exhaustion, her body and mind stretched to their limits by the relentless pursuit of her enemies. Yet amidst the chaos and confusion, she remained resolute in her determination to protect her research and the future it promised. With each passing day, the stakes grew ever higher, until it felt as though the very fate of the world rested in the balance. And as Elena squared her shoulders and prepared to face her greatest challenge yet, she knew that whatever the outcome, she would fight to the last breath to protect all that she held dear. As Elena and her allies plotted their next move, they found themselves drawn ever deeper into the heart of the underground, where the air was thick with the scent of sweat and the sound of whispered conversations echoed off the walls. Here, amidst the chaos and confusion of the city above, they found unlikely allies in the most unexpected of places. Rebels and outcasts, misfits and dreamers, all united by a common cause and bound by a shared sense of purpose. Together, they forged a bond that transcended the boundaries of time and space, their disparate backgrounds and ideologies melting away in the face of a common enemy. For they knew that only by standing together could they hope to overcome the forces arrayed against them. And so, with a newfound sense of unity and purpose, they set out to confront Marcus Kane and his agents head-on, knowing that the fate of the city, and perhaps the very future of humanity itself, hung in the balance. As they made their final preparations, the ground shook beneath their feet, and the walls of the underground city seemed to tremble with the force of an approaching storm. And then, with a deafening roar, Marcus Kane and his forces burst into view, their weapons drawn and their eyes ablaze with a hunger for power and conquest. In that moment, the fate of the city, and perhaps the very future of humanity itself, hung in the balance. And as Elena squared her shoulders and prepared to face her greatest challenge yet, she knew that whatever the outcome, she would fight to the last breath to protect all that she held dear. The day of reckoning had arrived. Elena and her allies stood on the precipice of destiny, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation as they prepared to confront Marcus Kane and his forces head-on. With each passing moment, the tension in the air grew thicker, until it felt as though the very fabric of reality itself was on the verge of unraveling. Yet amidst the chaos and confusion, Elena remained steadfast in her resolve, her eyes burning with a fierce determination to see her mission through to the bitter end. As they made their final preparations, the ground shook beneath their feet, and the walls of the underground city seemed to tremble with the force of an approaching storm. And then, with a deafening roar, Marcus Kane and his forces burst into view, their weapons drawn and their eyes ablaze with a hunger for power and conquest. In that moment, the fate of the city, and perhaps the very future of humanity itself, hung in the balance. And as Elena squared her shoulders and prepared to face her greatest challenge yet, she knew that whatever the outcome, she would fight to the last breath to protect all that she held dear. The battle raged on with a ferocity that bordered on madness. Explosions rocked the underground city, sending showers of sparks cascading through the air as Elena and her allies fought tooth and nail to hold their ground against Marcus Kane and his forces. But even as the tide of battle turned in their favor, Elena knew that victory came at a steep price. For every victory won, there was a life lost, a sacrifice made in the name of a brighter tomorrow. As the dust settled and the echoes of gunfire faded into the ether, Elena surveyed the devastation that lay in her wake, her heart heavy with grief for those who had fallen in the heat of battle. Yet amidst the rubble and ruin, she found solace in the knowledge that their sacrifices had not been in vain, that they had given their lives in service of a cause greater than themselves. With a heavy heart and a weary soul, Elena made her way to the heart of the underground city, where the remnants of her shattered dream lay scattered at her feet. And as she stood amidst the wreckage of all that she had lost, she knew that though the road ahead would be long and fraught with peril, she would never waver in her commitment to building a better future for all. In the aftermath of the conflict, Elena emerged from the shadows, her spirit unbowed by the trials she had faced. Though the city lay in ruins and the scars of their struggle ran deep, she remained steadfast in her belief that a better future was possible. With hope in her heart and the memory of her fallen comrades guiding her way, Elena set out to rebuild what had been lost and forge a path toward a brighter tomorrow. And though the road ahead would be long and fraught with peril, she knew that so long as she remained true to her ideals, there was nothing that could stand in her way. For in the end, it was not the power of technology or the might of armies that would shape the destiny of humanity, but the indomitable spirit of those who dared to dream of a world where all were free to live, love, and thrive. And as Elena looked to the horizon, she knew that the echoes of tomorrow were hers to shape, and hers alone.